of the 16, so half of the host regional sites. I think they did a fair job. I think, look, I'm going to talk about this. So let's do this. Let's transition here. I'll get to some of these comments in just a minute, but let's start with that, because last night, really and truthfully, you can go down our Twitter, and I tried to send hints. I think that, when it comes to some of the things that we hear in reference to teams that are getting in, I will not put it out there if I'm not pretty damn certain that these teams are going to get in. Last night around, I want to say 7:30 when I started tweeting it, it started to come out that ULL was going to get in. They're a good team, man. So is Nichols. And I think Louisiana as a whole, all the teams, got some pretty favorable matchups. You don't want all Louisiana teams, or at least I think that I'm pretty sure from what I've heard from talking to people is that they did not want to put all Louisiana teams in one regional and let them battle it out. Maybe Nichols can go to their regional. Maybe ULL can go to their regional in Miami and possibly win the thing. Who knows? Now, can they? Will they? Probably not, but we will see. You never know. It is baseball. I thought that I was really surprised that Columbia was a host site, but UC Irvine, I know a lot of people are playing on that one. I went and looked up UC Irvine. Now, they swept Tulane. They had some decent midweek games that they won. I think they beat USC a couple of times. But you go down that list, they lose a series to Kansas State. They lose a lot of series in their own conference. That's not going to bode well. So you can't lose to really bad teams and get swept by a really bad team and then think that you're going to get in. So I thought that it was overall pretty good. But let's talk about this Baton Rouge regional here for just a minute. So there are two thoughts that I have. Number one, it's a very winnable region. You can get to Omaha with the teams that are selected to play in your regional, but it's not going to be easy. You faced Sam Houston State before. You beat them. You run-ruled them. You play Tulane. You beat them before. Tulane is a team that, quite honestly, maybe shouldn't be in there, but they won their conference tournament. They've looked good. They got hot over the last week, and look what happened to them. Taking down ECU on Sunday to win the championship, they've looked pretty good. They don't have enough to beat anybody, in my opinion, over a couple game stretch. I don't think they can beat anybody in this regional that you have. But Oregon State's in there, and you've had, and we have had, and LSU has had a very long history, if you will, with them. Now, you have not hosted, if you're LSU, you have not hosted a regional since 2019. And it's good, it feels good to get back there, right? Dylan Cruz, it would have been criminal if Dylan Cruz would have never played at Alex Box in a regional. Absolutely criminal. You get Paul Skeens there. But you have a lot of history with Oregon State. You go back to 2017. You go back to 2018, where Oregon State, who won the national title that year, absolutely kicked your ass, right? Beat you down. The best team in college baseball. But you did something in 2017. You got run-rolled in not run-rolled, but you got clobbered in game one. And then you beat Oregon State again. You go on to play for a national title, which you do ultimately lose, and I get that. But the history here with Oregon State is something. Last night I tweeted this again, and I'm going to tell you this. Somebody asked me a question, I think his name was John, and said, Blake, what are you hearing about teams in the region before it was announced? For what it's worth, and you remember this at, 2021, Paul Manieris last year when LSU got sent out to Oregon, when Oregon was the host site. They love sending Pac-12 teams into the SEC that have had decent seasons. Now, when I look at Oregon State, and I've watched Oregon State multiple times this year, I watched them when they played Arizona in a very wild game in this tournament. They have dudes that can really hit. But I will tell you, they are a lot like what you would expect in reference to they kind of embody a lot of what you do. A lot of dudes are going to come to the plate and going to swing the stick at a high level. Problem is, I don't know if they have the starters or the bullpen that can come in and lock you down if you're LSU for multiple innings in on end. Let me give an example. Jacob Katz is getting hit. The batting average against him is 258. And then Trent Sellers has a batting average against, so guys are hitting 257 off of him. What do you think LSU is going to do to that? So when you look at a team like Oregon State, when you look at a team that had a decent season out west in the Pac-12, you got Travis Bazana, who's hitting 379. You got Michael McDowell that's hitting 343. And those stats you might overlook them and say, oh, well, this guy has a hot average. But just go look a couple of games. I tweeted that as well. Some games that you can look up and watch them play. They can really hit. They don't hit for a lot of power, but situationally, they do everything well. Defensively, they do a lot of things well. So when I look at them, they're not an easy walkthrough team. They have MLB dudes, but they do not have the firepower that you do. Here's the caveat to that, because we have not talked to each other since I think, what was it, South Carolina, or Thursday or Friday, I forget when our last show was, but we have not talked about what happened in Hoover live and in living person. If you play like you did in some of these games, you're going to struggle. Now, Arkansas, okay, you face the two best left-handed dudes that you're going to see in this entire tournament. But they've pitched 19 innings against you and quite honestly has locked you down. That's the truth. 19 innings, Hunter Holland and Hogan Smith legitimately went out there and shoved. No pause. Okay, I can understand that. You were, I think, if memory serves me correct, you were 2 for 17 with runners in scoring position. You turn right around, though, and play Texas A&M, where you go 3 of 20. And Jim Schlossnagle, Texas A&M's head coach, told you what he thinks. The statistics and what I see at LSU, when you put a lefty on the mound, I think is the best chance to beat them. Now, later this week, we're going to find out if Oregon State has some left-handed arms that can do some good things. We'll find that out. And we are going to see that. But you have a coach that's been to multiple College World Series, that's forgotten more about baseball than you and I combined, and he told you the formula. Here's the truth. We both went into this SEC tournament thinking, well, the bullpen's got to step up. And you're not wrong, right? You weren't wrong in that take, because the bullpen had been suspect. The one thing that I like the most is that you got great performances by guys like Nate Ackenhausen against a team, whether you like it, love it, or hate it, is a regional host site in South Carolina. You got Riley Cooper, who he gives up a hit that scores 2 runs, but after that is completely locked down. Here's something that's interesting. In those 2 games against Arkansas and South Carolina, your bullpen gave up 2 hits and no earned runs on themselves. Now, Cooper gave up the hit, which scored a couple runs, but those runs go on Paul Skeens, not on Riley Cooper. He gave up 1 hit against Arkansas's best hitter. Your bullpen did some really good things. Against Texas A&M, I do not know why Jay went with Sam Dutton, but he did. He did. It backfired completely. So when it comes to Nate Ackenhausen, I think you know what you're going to get. I think that even though Riley Cooper has struggled at times this season, when he's locked in and focused, you can get a really good performance out of Riley Cooper. The problem is, when you get past those 2 dudes, then what? Then what? We talked about this last week. Thatcher Hurd has been really good over the last couple of outings that he's had. The start against South Carolina and the outing he had against Georgia after giving up those 2 home runs. He's been and looks pretty good. I feel that he's going to do a really good job against Tulane. But you cannot be ineffective and hit 136 with runners in scoring position if you're LSU and think you can win a regional, a super regional, or get to Omaha and win the thing. Now, one thing that I feel good about, and I know that you do as well, the likelihood and chances of teams holding down this offense for a long stretch of time is not very likely. There is not a team in your regional that is better than what you saw last week. I don't think Oregon State is better than Texas A&M. I think they'd give South Carolina a run for their money. They're not better than Arkansas. And then you're paired up with our boys out there in the bluegrass with Kentucky. You have a path to Omaha. Can you seize it? Can you take it? Are there some concerns, some thoughts that you may have about this team right now currently? Yes. There's no other way around it. You got to get guys in with runners in scoring position. And I know, a lot of people were questioning about when Gavin Dugas this past week tried to lay down a bunt with Hayden Travinsky on third base. But the truth was, and I get what Jay was trying to do there, you're not generating runs with runners on base any damn way. Why not try to do something and get some runs in? You are one of the most, if not the most, talented teams in the field. If the game would have gotten to us, if you could have gotten and beaten A&M, you're not losing to Arkansas a second time. You wouldn't have. I don't think Arkansas is the best team in the field. I think they have flaws. Now, they got injuries, but they have flaws. When they have those two lefties going, they are pretty damn locked down. After that, they are not. It's time to put up or shut up, because if you start losing now and those same situations, those same blunders that you have start creeping up, you are going to lose. But here's the positive. I don't think you will. I think you can get through this regional. Let's try to get through it in 3 games. Let's try to get through it in 3 games and get to a supers. Now, later in the week, we'll start talking about who's in Kentucky and in their regional, who you're paired up with. But right now, we need to talk about Oregon State and Sam Houston State. Now, Sam Houston State is a team that you faced this year already, and you put it on them. I think what started the scoring, if memory serves me correctly, is Braden Jobert came up there and had a ball that really hasn't landed yet, and some believe is on its way to Mars, and Elon Musk couldn't even stop it from getting there. They are a different team. Now, I tweeted this out as well. They beat a team this week to win their conference, the WAC. They were up 21-1. They can hit. Now, the question that you will have in some of this, like if you're just stat stuff and supreming all this, like it's Taco Bell, you're not going to get everything that you need to know about Sam Houston State. But Jay Johnson did have some serious thoughts about Sam Houston State a couple months ago, and I quote, Sam Houston State's a team that's probably going to win their conference. Not only are they going to win their conference, they're probably going to be in a regional, and we might just see them again. Jay Johnson a month and a half ago. 2 months ago, whatever that date is. But I went and listened to his press conference when he talked about Sam Houston State. When they were out there in, March with the D1 baseball thing. But that is his direct quote. They got guys like Tyler Davis, Joe Redfield, both hitting over 400. Davis has 102 hits. Redfield has 95 hits. The question is who have they been playing? Because I can sit here and look at the teams that they did play, and it's not a laundry list like you will see in the SEC. But the regional always comes down, the super regional always comes down to one thing. We've seen it the last 2 years. What team is hot? What team is hot and has the momentum that can carry them through a regional, that can carry them through a super regional? Ole Miss did it last year. Mississippi State did it before. What team gets hot? You've been on the receiving end of getting beat by teams that are hot. Coastal Carolina comes to mind. Stony Brook comes to mind. You can't take anybody lightly. Oh, and by the way, Tulane's in there as well. who I watched 3 of their games this weekend, and my God, are they playing like their hair is on fire. If a team scores a run, Tulane will come back and they will find a way to answer. Doesn't matter. And ECU, the team that they beat on Sunday, it's not a scrub. If they would have won that, they more than likely and probably could have been a host seed themselves. But they didn't. Going to be interesting to see, man. Going to be really interesting to see. You got some really good regionals out there. We'll find it out.